Welcome to my allotment. Today I'm going to be showing you what you can plant in August, because I know a lot of people are not sure what to plant, so I'm going to be showing you what I'm planting and make some suggestions of what you could be planting, other options as well. So if you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because you'll see lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my allotment, my home garden and also my home kitchen. Now, first of all, you need some space. Now, I've just dug some of my potatoes, some of my first early, second early potatoes, so I've now got space to plant some seeds. Now, there's lots of things you can be planting. With seeds, personally, if I wanted to plant things like brassicas or leeks, I would buy the plants already started off. And indeed, I have done with some Savoy cabbage. I've got plenty of leeks, so I don't know anymore, but I've seen them in the garden centres. So leeks and plenty of brassicas are all available in Plugit. So I personally would do that, but it's up to you. With sowing straight into the ground at the moment, so the things I'm going to be sowing now are some cut and come again lettuces, because they grow quickly. So all the things you grow now, you generally want to grow quickly because it's just a shorter season. So that's those. I've got some carrots, which are early Nantes. Again, I did some research on this, and the temptation is to grow ones with autumnal names in them. Actually, you want something that's fast growing, and this is a fast growing variety. Something else is spinach, beet or chard. So I'm going to be planting some spinach beet in. I'm also going to be planting some spring onions. So I've started off some mixed spicy salad leaves, but I've actually done those at home because they grow much easier in a pot in my greenhouse. But it's up to you if you want to put them in the ground. What I find with this, because the leaves are so unusual, it's actually hard to tell the weeds from the actual leaves themselves. So although I've started this off, this is at home in my greenhouse. So some radishes, again, they are fast growing, so perfect for this time of year. And also some beetroot, again, quite fast growing. Even if you just had them as baby beetroots, you can actually overwinter them if you want to. So, and also I'm going to be putting in some turnips to see how they're doing as well. I'm going to give them a go. So I actually don't sow that much in August, if I'm honest with you. I do most of my late sowing in July, but I've got a bit of room because I've normally lived my potatoes in a little bit longer, but because of the risk of blight, I've dug them up and I've got a little bit of room, and I'm interested to see how well they do compared to the ones that I do in July. So I'm going to just show you how I sow my seeds if it's not something that you've done before. So first of all, you need to dig the ground over and rake it over, which I've done. I've also marked out my rows so I know where I'm going to be planting. I use a trowel to do a small mark in the ground where I'm going to put the seeds. So what I do is a small little trough there where the seeds are going to go. When you sow seeds, you don't sow them very deep. So what I do before I put any seeds in is I give the ground a little bit of a water, and it just gives them more of a chance that they're going to germinate quickly because they're going to be moist, especially when it's sunny like this. So do a little trail of water across, and I'm going to choose one of my packets of seeds. So I've got my turnips there. Easier to take your gloves off when you're putting seeds in because they're hard to handle with gloves on. So this is actually an old packet of seeds. So again, your late sowing, it's a really good way of using up any seeds that you've not used up over the growing season. And I've had these a little while now, so hopefully they still germinate. But they're definitely not going to germinate if I leave them in my drawer, in my dresser. So, do a light sprinkling of turnips. So the idea is that we're doing all these sowings so that we've got something to have on our Christmas table if we've eaten everything else. The other thing I've done is I've started off some potatoes for Christmas, but I've done those in tubs at home, and I'm going to start them off in my greenhouse and then move them into my summer house. The reason you do them in tubs and you don't have them outdoors is because once you get past October, there's a chance of frost, and the potatoes won't grow very well in frost. In fact, they would quite honestly ruin. So you've got to grow them in tubs so that you're able to put them somewhere and they're protected. Also, the risk of potato blight as well is quite high as well. So if they're indoors somewhere, then they're more likely to be okay. So there's a video for that which will be linked to this. So if you want to give Christmas potatoes a go like me, then you can. So I'm being quite generous with these because these are an old packet of seed. I can always thin them out if too many germinate. So there we go, that's my seeds gently sprinkled in. Put what I've not used back in the packet, and as I pour them back in, pour them over the row where you've done them so you don't chuck them everywhere, you don't get random plants. Now something that I often do is when I cover my seeds outdoors, because my soil can be a little bit clayey sometimes, I cover it with a little bit of multi-purpose. And it just means it's got a lighter covering and it's easier for the seeds to come through. I've done this for many years and it's just worked really, really well. You don't need a lot, because again, when you cover seeds, you only cover them with a gentle sprinkle, you know. You've got to remember that when you start seeds off at the beginning of the year in pots, you're actually covering them with vermiculite, which is very fine in itself. So you're just gently sprinkling it over. The other thing I will do, once I've got all these seeds in, I will cover these seeds with a little bit of fleece or mesh, because otherwise the birds will have them. So, and I don't want that. I don't want the lovely seedlings to come through and then the birds to munch through them. So there we go, that's that row in. And then you obviously need to water that row in. Obviously it won't grow. And now if it doesn't rain, you need to water these about every third day until they start to germinate, because otherwise, if it's really sunny like it is today, it seems really obvious, but I think we've all forgot to water our seeds from time to time. They just won't germinate. So all my seeds are now in the ground. Don't forget to mark your seeds so you know what is where, because that can be quite confusing sometimes if you've not done that. You always think you will remember and you don't. So I'm going to be doing that. I've marked some of them up already, but I'll do the rest before I leave. One top tip is a lot of the garden centres are actually reducing their seeds down now. So I've actually bought a lot of my seeds for next year, and the ones that I've just planted, some of them I got half price. So that would be really useful. So I will be covering this with some netting or some mesh, but I'll wait a couple of days because the birds won't get them yet, and it gives me a chance to give them another water in a couple of days if it doesn't rain. So I really hope that's been useful, and if you're sowing anything in August and you've had really good successes, I'd be really interested to hear. And if you've got any questions or queries, as usual, please do put it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them.